Welcome back to the channel. So last time we finished up the carburetor, so now we need a way to hold fuel, get fuel into it to make a fuel tank. So I've got this piece of copper pipe here, which is too tall right now, but my plan is to make our little round fuel tank. It's going to bolt somewhere in this area here. And then if you watch Blondie Hacks on a recent video, she made a boiler for a little steam engine toy that she has, and I'm going to use the same concept here. We're going to cut out a flat piece of copper, and we're going to make a mandrel to bend a flange around. We're going to make two end caps here, and then I'm going to cut this down first in the lathe and square it up, probably cut it to about half of what it is now. We're going to make a mandrel and bend two end caps on here, and then we will solder them to this and make a little round flat gas tank. And then we'll also need to put a neck in it here for the fuel to come out, and then we'll put a filler cap here on the end, and then we'll come up with a way to get it bolted down. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put this in the lathe and then get it cut down to the height that I want, and then we're going to turn a mandrel up to match the OD of this, and then we'll cut out some flat pieces of copper, and then after we anneal them, we will put it on the mandrel and try to start bending this around to make the caps. Okay, so that worked pretty good. Was able to form this piece around the mandrel. So we heated it up and annealed it, and then you can bend it a little bit, and then it would start getting hard to bend, and then heat it up again, let it cool, and then bend it around. So now it's a good tight fit on our pipe. Same thing for the top. And then for the feel, I have this piece of threaded tube, and this is actually from a hardware store. It's for a lamp. And then I have a brass cap here that screws on there. This is also a piece for a lamp. So we will solder this in here. And then for the outlet, I have a piece of 1/8" copper tube, and I've cut an angle on it so we can just solder this in here all the way down on the bottom, and then it can still pick up fuel. So the first thing I'm going to do is solder the bottom to this. I'm going to use flux it and then use silver solder, and then we'll solder the top, and then I'm probably just going to use plumber's solder for the inlet and the outlet because it melts at a lower temperature than the silver solder does. So we'll get this set up and get it soldered together. Okay, so I got the fuel tank soldered together. That all went pretty good, considering that's the first tank I've made like this. Not perfect, but it'll hold fuel. And the cap here, I've drilled a hole in it and put a cotter key. So this will act as a vent. So in order to pull fuel out of here, this can't be completely sealed off. It needs to be able to let air in. So this will just keeps trash and debris out. Just put a cotter key in there and screw that back on. So this is going to set somewhere in this area here, and then we'll make 4 Z brackets that'll bolt down here to the frame to hold it on. And then the fuel line that I'm using is Tygon. If I can get it to show up. And this stuff I've found to be good for resistance if you're using, it does okay on acetone. After a while it can get a little bit brittle, and then I'm using Coleman fuel, so it works pretty good for the Coleman fuel. Hasn't given any problems yet. So we'll hook the fuel line up here to the bottom of the carburetor and then get this bolted down. Next thing I'm going to work on though before making these Z-brackets here is a little pulley for this end here. It's not in the plans. I did see it in one of the pictures, I think for the metric plans for this engine, but it's kind of up to you what you want to do. But I plan on just making a simple pulley. It'll be a flat belt, but it'll have a little bit of a crown to it. And then I'm also going to put a groove here so that we can wrap a string around this to start it. So there'll be a hole through the middle here, and then somewhere there'll be a set screw, probably in here. So this will bolt on to the end of the crankshaft here, and then we can wrap a string around here to pull it. It doesn't say to do this in the plans, and we'll try it. This engine should start just from kicking this flywheel over, but in case it doesn't, this will allow us to wrap a string around there and just pull on it to get it started. So I've got the chunk of cast iron here that was left over from the dumbbell that we started with to make the flywheel and the cylinder. This is the center section out of that. So I'm going to lop off a piece here, and we'll get it squared up in the lathe and then groove it and then put the profile on it there to make us a pulley. And then after we get the pulley done, we can make these Z-brackets and get this fuel tank bolted down. And then we'll be done with all the machining. So after that, we'll have to set the timing on everything, get the exhaust gear where it needs to be, the cam, the ignition points and all that. We'll get all the timing set, and then we'll be ready to try to start it. Okay, I got the pulley finished up. So we cut it's about a 5-degree angle here on both sides, so that if I ever did want to run a flat belt, it would run a flat belt. And then we've got a groove here to wrap the string around, and then a slot cut in here to put the knot in, and then so it'll release once you get to the end of it. And then I drilled it for a 440 set screw, and then put a dimple on the end of the crankshaft there to hold it. So we'll wrap the string around this and try to start it. And then I got the fuel tank mounted. I made some little Z brackets out of copper there, and then 256 brass screws to hold it down. So we got the fuel tank mounted. So that is going to finish up all the machining, and next time we are going to get everything in time. So we're going to set our top dead center and get some marks on here to set our ignition timing with, and then set our exhaust cam timing, and then set the clearance for the tappet here. And then we'll finish up all the wiring. So once we get the wiring, we get everything set, then we'll be ready to put some fuel in it and hopefully make some noise. So thanks for watching.